Now that we have a better idea about what engineering design is and how we go about engineering design, let us tie this all together with how we present on our design method in the engineering design report. First and foremost, whatever we present on must tie in with the main themes of our report. These themes are intrinsically linked to the problem statements in the beginning of our report. Furthermore, when we present on our design, we are presenting on methods that we have used to address the ideas required to solve the problem statement. So where does this fit into the report? Well, we know the introduction presents the problem statement or statements. A literature review covers a critical review of existing methods, for example. And as an aside, the literature review does not form part of a design report per se when you're working in industry. So when you reach industry, you'll likely never see a literature review in a design report. However, you do find them in scientific literature and other types of technical reports, and therefore a literature review is very important, and that is why you are required to write one for your project. After considering all of what I've said, really the only places left are the methods, results, discussion, and conclusion sections. So then, how do we write about our design in each section? Let's start with the method. So in the method, we describe the procedures used to address the design problems. For example, any general equations that will benefit the reader are useful here. It's also important to remember that equations are actually part of the text. They may be placed on a new line or so, but they can be read better because they are placed on a new line. But this doesn't mean they are separate. After an equation generally comes a description of the variables. For example, a straight line may be approximated with y equals mx plus c, open brackets, 1, close brackets, new line, where m is the gradient, c is the y-intercept, x is the independent variable, and y is the dependent variable. You will note the following. There's no punctuation after the with. The equation has a number on the right. This is always placed on the right side of the equation. And the equation is followed by a description, and most importantly, the where, the first word of our sentence after the equation, is in lowercase. This implies that the equation is actually part of the sentence. You may want to discuss the different design options in your method and how you will test them here. For example, 3 different types of materials you could use to make a microchip and how you will test them. Now let's look at the results section. The results section seems obvious in that it is obviously where all our results go, but there are some important details that I need to let you know about. For example, figures, tables, costing, etc. You'll learn a bit more about this in later sections. Some important points for you to remember is that the text explaining a figure always comes before the figure, and likewise for tables or anything similar like that. You do not simply just place a figure randomly in the document without a reference to it, and this reference needs to come before the figure is seen by the reader. And as an aside, all figure and table labels are below and above respectively. So figure labels go below the figure, table labels go above the table with some caption. Now let's look at the discussion section. So in the discussion, our results and discussions can often form part of the same chapter. This is because we always discuss a figure and or a table before we display it, as I've already mentioned to you. This is a useful opportunity to compare different design options and their implications, or link your results with international findings, for example. It is also possible to have your discussion separate from your results section, but this will require your own thought as an engineer and writer. And now lastly, let's just touch on the conclusions. So conclusions are short and they link the reader back to the problem statement. Here you can summarize how you have addressed the problem statements, for example, and you will learn more about this in the lectures to come.